All right. This would be, if you look at the weather conditions, a flight that would never happen, especially for somebody who didn't have an IFR, and would probably never happen even if you did have an IFR because of the clouds. We are taking off in a Cessna 172 into there. We are at Plant City Airport. We're going to go ahead and practice this on the simulator, and here we go. We only have like 3,800 feet of runway. We're hoping that we crank it up here in a second. And we are taking off kind of into a crosswind. You can see the windsock. We should be good to go here. And we're going to pull it back, and there's the end of the runway in those trees. And we take out that notch of flaps. Let's get in the plane so we can see it. There we go. Next Sunday, be doing this for real, but because YouTube won't let me live stream from my phone, I won't be able to live stream, but I will be recording it from the plane that we're going to be using. I'm not going to be the pilot, obviously, but it doesn't have this Garmin. It has another Garmin GPS, so it won't be a glass front like you're seeing here, but we'll be able to see from where we are, because Plant City is only about 6 or 7 miles from Lakeland Linder. A lot of you already know where Lakeland Linder is. Lakeland Linder is the place where they have the Sun and Fun fly-in, which just ended a couple of weeks ago. I didn't get a chance to go this year. I went last year and just geeked out, had a great time talking to people who do this for a living and do this for fun. It was a gas, absolute gas. So what I'm doing with like a lot of people, I am practicing using Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hopefully, because at some point I'll be able to do this for real. And my thought is that if you go through it in your head enough, that when you get the chance to do it for real, it won't be that unfamiliar to you. Now, of course, I understand the controls will operate differently, and when you're in the real environment, of course, it's going to be a lot different. But the hope is that it won't be that much different, or some things will be familiar. The advantage, the advantage, or maybe even the disadvantage that we have while operating a flight simulator is that we can't really hurt ourselves, and we get the advantage of being able to do this. We really don't have that advantage. We're actually in the airplane, but we do get to look out the windows. And pull back the power some. Everybody's operating in the green here. So we're going to fly over our what I hope to do in this live is to, right in front of me is a Bartow Municipal, is to make a loop around Bartow, pass back by Lakeland, and land back at there's Lakeland down there, on my left there, down there. You can't really see it, but you're going to see it in a second. And then land back at Plant City. Now, one of the advantages and of course disadvantages is that I've decided not to communicate in this live with ATC, and of course you'd have to do that. That'd be one of the things you'd have to add on. But in the meantime, what we're trying to do today is just sort of being able to figure out how to operate the simulator. Now, it is similar to the plane, kind of, but not exactly. So what we're doing is trying to figure out these things conceptually, if not actually. Obviously, my $120 yoke and rudder system that I bought from Amazon is not going to give me the most realistic picture of what I'm doing, obviously, and I am very much aware of that. But hopefully, it'll let me understand some things conceptually, and I think that in the beginning of your education and this kind of thing, that's kind of important. That I was able to pull the power back and sort of change the angle, help the angle of attack by pulling the power back. And a lot of it is making sure that you can check out the distance between the top of the sun shield there, the board, and the horizon. And of course we have the advantage and disadvantage of being able to sort of check what you're doing in a way that you would never be able to check it in the real aircraft by doing this. And I understand that we'd never be able to do that. We'd have to learn what it looks like outside the windows, and to look at our instruments to see if, how we were flying, what our attitude was, what our angle of attack is. And we want to look and see if we're still climbing. Obviously we're still climbing, and we want to not climb. There we are, we're getting closer to not climbing. And if we can pull the power back just a little more, I think we can probably fix that. Or maybe not. And we're climbing now more than we were before. There we go. And we can hear the power drop. There we go. We just want to make a loop around Bartow Municipal. In all the videos that I watch, it's always people talk about landing when they're talking about new pilots. I almost said young pilots. That the problem always is that they come in too high and or too fast. Let me pull the plane down a little bit. So there you go. And I'm sort of taking a wide berth, so you can see, of Bartow Municipal. According to, and this is something else that you don't get in the plane. You don't get this augmented reality, where you can look out and see exactly what things are out of your windshield. Well, not yet anyway. I'm sure that that's coming, and how far you are away from it. Yeah, that sort of augmented reality would be rocking. we're doing about 101 knots, just about 3,000 feet. I don't want to do much more than 3,000 feet. And I wanted to try this one. I've been playing with this for a while, and I wanted to make sure that I could make this trip without, without full power the whole way, without, the things to the wall the whole way, to keep the RPMs on the airplane down. Out in front of me, again with my augmented reality, is Lake Wales Municipal, which is, I'm also practicing using one hand on the yoke and the other hand on the throttle, because one of the disadvantages of the Microsoft simulator that you have at home, and especially when you are not practicing with a pilot or or a CFI or something on the simulator, which I don't think many of us can afford, is that we have a tendency to white knuckle this bad boy and hold on to both sides of the yoke for dear life and steer it like a car. From what I understand, and a lot of you who are watching, who might pop in, who know what the heck you're doing, might tell me, yeah, that's not how you do it. One hand on the throttle, one hand on the yoke. Everything in my my driving career, everything that we learn driving a motor vehicle, tells you that's not how you do anything, right? Both hands on the wheel. What are you doing, showboating? No, and I don't think it's showboating. I think it's being quick to be able to control the things that you need to control, especially the speed. I teach saxophone, flute, and clarinet for a living, and what I'm learning here is that it just takes patience. We want to get into this, and we want to treat the simulator like a video game. And in order to get anything out of it, that's exactly how you can't treat it, like a video game. You want to get into the big planes, you want to go fast, you want to go high, but to get anything out of Microsoft's Flight Simulator that you can use in a regular airplane, if you're looking to get your pilot certificate or just to learn more about aviation, is that go ahead and do what everybody else does. Go ahead and get into the trainers. This is a Cessna 172. Get into the trainers. They don't go very high, and they obviously don't go very fast. But the idea is that you're trying to learn the concepts. You're not trying to be a Top Gun pilot. Most of us will never be Top Gun pilots. That's probably better. And in my teaching, I always say, learn some things first and then add the next thing. Once you get good at something, then you can add the next thing. Normally we would, and I'm sure the real pilots who know that we wouldn't make a turn at any more than 30 degrees would probably put in some left rudder here. But what I've picked up, and please correct me if I'm incorrect, is that when you're in a turn, you have a tendency to descend because we're losing lift on that side. There's the airport that we're going to swoop around. That's Bartow Municipal. We're going to go back the other way and land back at Plant City. There's Bartow. And when we're flying visual flight rules, like we are, because that's a first step. We have to get good at recognizing points along the ground. And what you see out there is other people who are in Microsoft Flight Simulator, like Brazzer Intern 1 is at Lakeland Linder, I think. And there we go. And we're headed north right now. And there is Bartow. And for watching our, if you look down in the display, you can see our compass. I know that we came from the east. Now we're going to head back, and there's Lakeland right there. Very good. Lord of mercy, I didn't get lost. Still about 2,000 feet, and I did not get lost. Now remember, we came up on the other side of Lake Melinda. We're going to go back, and then we're going to go all the way around and land back at, or try and land at, Plant City. There we are. A lot of people who do this are a darn sight more skilled than I am. But in everything that I've ever done, the advice I've been given and the advice that I've taken is that you have to start before you're ready, because you may not ever be ready, especially in your brain. So you have to start before you're ready. So me making these, doing these lives here, using OBS, may encourage other people to do these lives when you're not quite ready either. And maybe some of the advice, criticism, because we're going to get criticism because we're doing this stuff wrong. we're doing it wrong for sure. We're doing a lot wrong. And the benefit of doing it wrong here is that it won't hurt anybody, and we can learn before it matters a lot. Like, I don't think that we would normally fly visual flight rules in a 172 out of the student pilot with clouds this low. I just don't think that this would even be a thing. This would only be something we could do, with Microsoft Flight Simulator at home. I just don't think it's something that we would do. That true? I just don't think so. And we're going to go back down the other side of Lakeland Linder and back around to Plant City. Again, but again, my training again is I'm a saxophone teacher by by training and a classical musician by training, and the idea is that how much ever time you get to practice is important, and it may not be under perfect conditions. And again, this would probably be not how we would actually do this for real, for sure. But if I can learn to control, I can practice a little bit and learn more about concepts, it's probably a good thing. Somebody's landing, and Lakeland Linder from Baltimore. That KBWI is from Baltimore, and they're landing. That's cool. All right. And because we have chosen to practice this, we can see Lakeland Linder to our left here, and up with flashing lights is Plant City. If we were to go past Plant City, we would go to an airport near my house, which is Vandenberg, FDBF. Filter Delta, Victor Delta, Frank. There you go. I think it's Frank, yeah. My practice goals here is to practice at least in, here on Microsoft Flight Simulator, in the simulator, level flight, straight and level flight. Frankly, a lot of us, and there's another airplane landing. Yeah, that is someone else from Baltimore. Yeah. How a lot of us use Microsoft Flight Simulator is that the first thing we learn to do is the autopilot, which is way cool. And there we are. Out in front of us is Plant City. So I'm going to pull down the power a little bit, and I'm going to descend I want to make sure, that EJA 752 that's going across is an airplane that's I believe that's in the simulation. Add a little bit more power in there. Let it descend a little bit. I just want to make sure that when I make my approach, that I can get a good glide slope, and that I won't have to go around, which is something else that we do when we're doing this, landings that we would normally go around, that we would normally go around. We're not going to. We just slam the the airplane on the runway and go. And we all say this in our head: any landing that we go walk away from is a good landing. When the fact of the matter is, oh, somebody zipped around me. I don't know who that is. Wow. With 1,000 feet. If I could stay around 1,000 feet, I'd be super happy. This Tampa executive beyond me, but up to our left is Plant City, and that's where we started, and that's where we're going. And that's where we're going back to. There it is. See, 5 miles away. In our augmented reality, if I could stay around 1,000 feet, that would be fantastic. If anybody has any suggestions on how to practice these things with limited resources better, now I know better equipment makes it easier to practice for sure, or makes it a more realistic situation. But a lot of us don't have the resources to get the good stuff. You know, what I learned is that this is a lot like, well, like music. Yeah, the good stuff costs money. And basically you can, you know, the $100 yoke is just like the $60 yoke, which is just like the $200 yoke. So it doesn't start to make any difference until you get to the $600 yoke, right? So if there's anybody who is in their infancy, as I am, as you can tell, in their flight simulation, please comment below. I'd love to hear what your experience has been like, and how close you are to really getting to do this for real. I'm going to get to fly with a friend of mine, and for me it'll be cool because I'll know more about what's going on than I do, you know what I mean, than I did, you know, a year ago. I'll be able to look at instruments and the like, and know a little bit more about what's going on. And my stream just, there we go. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's been happening. My internet's been, or this has been conking out. I'm gonna look out the window. That's one of the benefits of visual flight rules, right? Look out the window. Again, I want to stay around 1,000 feet before I make a left. I'm gonna get out about 3 miles. 3 miles at 1,000 feet should about do it, right? Out there, Tampa Executive would be my home airport, because it's about 2 miles from my house. About 45 degrees, and we're going to go ahead and try to make that gentle turn. Again, when you make a turn, you have to, I think you have to pull it back a little bit of back pressure, because you have a tendency when that wing dips to lose. There you go. No more than about 30 degrees. Lose altitude a little bit. And you're trying not to as you speed up, that's for sure. And of course, if I was doing this for real, this would be a go around. And I understand that. We're at 500 feet, you heard that? If you look at the lights, I've got 3 white and 1 red, which means I'm coming in at a bad angle. That's I was on the glide slope right then, but now I'm off a little bit because I'm not lined up with the runway, and I'm going to go and pull the power back. Again, 3 white. I'm not gonna do this for real. You would never ever do that for real. And I didn't hit any flaps at all. And if I had a CFI on the plane, they would at this point would have said my aircraft, and that is a hard landing, folks. And that's a hard landing, and that is not what you want to do. But this is how we learn. This is how we learn, and this is how we learn, and we don't hurt a real aircraft. We don't spend real fuel, and we don't hurt real human beings. We learn the concepts that way. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Looking forward to reading your comments.